My beloved child, listen to me closely. This is not an ordinary whisper in the quiet of your heart. This is not one of those gentle nudges you can set aside for later. I am calling to you with urgency because I love you too much to remain silent. When I say this is an emergency, I do not speak to frighten you. I speak to awaken you. You have felt it, haven't you? That stirring in your spirit. That sense that something must change. That quiet tension you try to ignore when the noise of life grows loud. You have told yourself, I will deal with it tomorrow. I will think about it next week. But tomorrow has been repeating itself, and the weight has not lifted. My beloved, this is why I am raising my voice now. An emergency in the natural world demands immediate action because delay can cost something precious. In the same way, there are moments in your life when hesitation opens doors that should remain closed and closes doors that were meant to bless you. I see what you cannot see. I know what is forming beyond your awareness. My urgency is not panic, it is protection. It is the steady hand of a father pulling his child back before danger touches their feet. You may wonder, why now? Because the timing matters. There are crossroads in your life that look ordinary on the outside but carry eternal consequences within them. A single decision, a single act of obedience, a single step away from what drains you or toward what heals you. These are not small things, even if they feel small. My beloved child, you are not in trouble with me. Let the truth settle your heart. I am not sounding an alarm because I am angry. I am sounding it because I am attentive. I have watched you wrestle quietly. I have seen the compromise you tried to justify. I have heard the excuses fear whispers into your mind. And I tell you now, with tenderness and authority, do not delay what I am placing before you. Think of a shepherd who sees a storm forming over distant hills while the sheep graze peacefully below. The sheep feel only a light breeze. They do not see the dark clouds gathering beyond their sight. But the shepherd does. So he calls them in early. They may not understand the urgency, but his voice carries safety. I am that shepherd, and you are precious to me. This is your moment to pay attention, to pause, to breathe, to lean in and hear me clearly. The emergency is not chaos. It is a sacred interruption. I am interrupting patterns that would wound you. I am interrupting cycles that would exhaust you. I am interrupting delays that would steal your peace. Do not brush this aside, my beloved. When I call, it is because I am drawing you closer to protection, to clarity, to purpose. Listen now. Act soon. I am speaking because I care too deeply to let you drift any longer. My beloved child, I am calling you right now because this moment is not random. You may think you stumbled upon these words by chance, that this is just another day scrolling through ordinary hours. But I do not move randomly, and neither does my timing. I am intentional. I am precise. And I am speaking to you at this exact point in your life for a reason that reaches deeper than you can see. You have sensed that something is shifting. Even if you cannot explain it, you have felt the ground beneath your routine begin to tremble just slightly. There is a restlessness you cannot quiet, a thought that keeps returning, a conviction that will not fade. You try to distract yourself, to drown it in noise or busyness, yet it resurfaces when you are alone. That is not coincidence. That is me, gently tapping on the door of your heart before I knock more firmly. Before this emergency alert, I whispered. I sent subtle confirmations. I stirred your spirit during quiet nights. I nudged you through conversations, through unexpected delays, through moments that did not go as planned. I was guiding you step by step, hoping you would notice my fingerprints on your path. But sometimes, my beloved, when love whispers and is not heard, love must speak more clearly. I am not rushing you because I am impatient. I am calling you now because the window in front of you will not remain open forever. Opportunities have seasons. Certain doors align with certain timing. Just as fruit ripens in its appointed hour, so do the moments that shape your destiny. If fruit is left too long on the branch, it spoils. If it is picked too early, it is not ready. But when it is ready, it must be gathered. You are standing in a ripe moment. You ask, why does it feel urgent? Because the decisions you are making now are forming patterns. Patterns become habits. Habits become direction. And direction becomes destination. I see the destination of every path before your feet even step upon it. When I call you to act, it is because I love you too much to let you wander into a future that drains your joy or dims your light. There are unseen battles around you, not to frighten you, but to remind you that your life has weight. Your choices carry influence. The enemy of your peace does not rest, and neither does my protection. I go before you, but I also invite your cooperation. When you move with me, when you respond to my voice, you align yourself with my covering in a powerful way. My beloved child, there are things forming behind the scenes, connections, opportunities, divine alignments that depend on your obedience now. Think of a single key turning in a lock. It seems small, almost insignificant. Yet that one turn can open an entire building. Your action is that key. Your willingness is that turn. I have seen your hesitation. You tell yourself you need more clarity, more strength, more confirmation. But I tell you gently, clarity often comes after obedience, not before it. Strength grows when you use it. Confirmation multiplies when you take the first step. I would not call you forward if I had not already equipped you with what you need. Right now, there is a line being drawn in your life between what was and what can be. You cannot remain suspended between the two forever. The longer you linger in indecision, the heavier your spirit feels. That weight you carry is not my burden for you. It is the tension of delay. Do you remember the times in your past when you felt a strong urge to act and you obeyed? How doors opened. How peace followed. How even when the path was challenging, you sensed my nearness more clearly than ever before. I am inviting you back into that rhythm. The rhythm of trust. The rhythm of movement. The rhythm of walking hand in hand with me. This is why I am calling you right now. Not yesterday. Not next year. But now. Because your heart is tender enough to hear. Because your circumstances are aligned for change. Because your destiny is pressing forward, and I will not allow fear or comfort to hold you back from what I have prepared. Lean in, my beloved. Do not turn away from this urgency. It is not a threat. It is a lifeline. I am drawing you toward safety, toward clarity, toward the next chapter of your purpose. I am calling because I see the road ahead, and I desire you to walk it with confidence, not regret. My beloved child, there is something I must speak to you about with tenderness and truth. It is the quiet danger of delay, not rebellion, not open resistance, but delay. The slow postponing of what you already know I have asked of you. The gentle pushing aside of conviction, telling yourself there will be a better time, a clear sign, a more comfortable season. But delay has a way of shaping your life more than you realize. Spiritual delay rarely feels dramatic. It feels small. It sounds like, I will start tomorrow. It whispers, this is not that serious. It comforts you with, there is still time. Yet every day you postpone obedience, something subtle begins to shift inside you. Sensitivity dull. Urgency fades. What once felt important becomes negotiable. Imagine a garden, my beloved. At first, it is full of life. The soil is rich, the seeds are planted with care. But if the gardener neglects it even for a short while, weeds begin to grow. They do not announce themselves loudly. They creep in quietly, wrapping around what was once healthy. Delay is like that. You may not see the consequences immediately, but over time, it entangles what I planted in you. You tell yourself you are waiting for the right moment. But sometimes waiting is wisdom, and sometimes waiting is fear dressed in patience. Wisdom is peaceful and anchored in trust. Fear is restless and filled with excuses. I know the difference, my child, and deep down, so do you. When I prompt you to act, whether to let go of something harmful, to speak truth, to forgive, to step into a new direction, I do so because I see the ripple effect. I see how one step of obedience unlocks another. But when you delay, those ripples slow. Opportunities that were aligned with your movement begin to shift. The momentum I intended for you pauses. Delay also feeds doubt. The longer you wait, the more your mind questions what your spirit once knew clearly. You begin to analyze what was meant to be trusted. You dissect what was meant to be embraced. And slowly, confidence drains away. This is not because I have withdrawn from you. It is because hesitation clouds the clarity I gave you. Let me tell you a simple story. There was once a child standing at the edge of a shallow stream, afraid to step in. The water looked cold, and the stones beneath the surface seemed uncertain. The father stood on the other side, arms open, saying, "Come now." The child waited, overthinking every possibility. Meanwhile, the sun began to set. The light that made the path visible started to fade. The stream did not grow deeper, but the darkness made it seem more dangerous. What was simple in the light became frightening in the dusk. My beloved child, delay often allows darkness to complicate what obedience would have made simple. I do not say this to pressure you. I say this to free you. Immediate obedience brings peace because it aligns you with my protection. When you move with me, you step into the flow of my covering. When you delay, you step into confusion that was never meant for you. You are not powerless in this. You are not trapped. You are not condemned for the times you have postponed what I asked. I am not keeping score against you. I am inviting you forward. Right now, in this very moment, you can choose differently. You can break the cycle of delay. Do not underestimate the power of a single, immediate yes. That one response can restore sensitivity. It can clear the fog. It can uproot the weeds that have quietly grown. It can shift the direction of your days in ways you cannot yet imagine. My beloved, I am not rushing you into chaos. I am calling you out of stagnation. I am inviting you out of the subtle trap of later and into the freedom of now. The longer you linger in hesitation, the heavier your spirit becomes. But the moment you act, even in a small way, you will feel the release. Delay is quiet, but so is courage at first. Choose courage. Choose movement. Choose to trust my voice over your fear. I am here, guiding you. Step forward with me. My beloved child, let me calm your heart as I take you deeper into what this emergency is truly about. It is not about punishment. It is not about anger. It is not about me standing over you with disappointment. If that is how you have imagined my urgency, release that image now. That is not my heart toward you. This emergency is about protection. When I raise my voice, it is because I see what you cannot see. You walk forward step by step, limited by time and perspective. I stand outside of time. I see the beginning and the end at once. I see the roads that look smooth but hide sudden drops ahead. I see the smiling faces that conceal harmful intentions. I see the habits that seem harmless now but will tighten around you later if left unchecked. You may only see today. I see the ripple of today stretching into your tomorrow. Think of a loving parent watching a toddler wander too close to a busy street. The child sees only open space. The parent sees speeding cars around the corner. When the parent shouts sharply, it is not cruelty. It is rescue. The urgency in the voice carries love, not wrath. My beloved, when I call you with intensity, it is because something ahead requires your attention now, not later. Sometimes protection means removing you from places you want to stay. Sometimes it means closing a door you prayed would open. Sometimes it means exposing a truth you would rather not face. But every act of my interruption is rooted in preservation. I protect your destiny. I protect your peace. I protect the calling placed upon your life. You may not understand all the details. You may not see the hidden dangers, and I do not expect you to. That is why I am God and you are my beloved child. Trust does not require full understanding. It requires relationship. And I am inviting you to trust my heart when you cannot trace my reasoning. There are moments when I redirect you quietly, and there are moments when I must sound an alarm. This is one of those moments. Not because disaster is certain, but because prevention is possible. I would rather guide you away from pain than heal you after unnecessary wounds. My urgency also protects your growth. There are environments that shrink you, conversations that drain your confidence, patterns that slowly erode your clarity. If you remain too long in places that diminish you, you begin to forget who you are. I will not allow you to forget your identity. I will not allow comfort to steal your calling. You may feel resistance rising inside you. A part of you may say, but this feels familiar. This feels safe. My beloved, familiarity is not always safety. Sometimes what feels comfortable is only what you have grown used to. I am leading you beyond survival into purpose. The journey requires trust when comfort is challenged. There are unseen consequences to ignored warnings, but there are also unseen blessings to immediate obedience. When you respond to me, even before you fully understand, you step into my shelter. You activate my guidance in ways that strengthen your spirit. You align yourself with protection that cannot always be measured but can always be felt. I am not here to frighten you with images of what could go wrong. I am here to reassure you that I am actively involved in what can go right. I am moving pieces behind the scenes. I am rearranging circumstances. I am shielding you from traps you do not even know exist. This emergency is not about destruction. It is about direction. It is about correcting your course slightly before the detour becomes difficult. It is about adjusting your focus before distraction pulls you too far away. It is about guarding your heart before disappointment hardens it. My beloved child, my urgency is a gift. It is evidence that I care enough to intervene. You are not abandoned to your own decisions. You are not walking alone through unseen dangers. I am attentive. I am involved. I am protective. When I say take action immediately, it is because I am drawing a line between harm and safety. I am guiding you toward clarity and away from confusion. I am preserving something precious within you. Trust that my alarm is love in motion. Trust that my interruption is mercy. Trust that my voice, even when firm, carries nothing but deep and unwavering affection for you. My beloved child, as I speak with urgency, I must make something very clear to your heart. Fear is not from me. If at any moment my words begin to sound like threat instead of love, pause and remember who I am. I am your father. I do not use terror to control you. I do not shake you with panic to force obedience. My authority is steady, but my heart is gentle. There is a difference between fear and conviction. Fear rushes in like a storm, loud and chaotic, filling your mind with worst-case scenarios. It heightens your jest. It clouds your thinking. It whispers that you are unsafe, unloved, or alone. That voice is not mine. I do not speak confusion into your spirit. Conviction, however, is different. Conviction is calm, even when it is urgent. It is clear. It may challenge you, but it does not shame you. It points you toward life, not away from it. When I convict your heart, you feel exposed, but also invited. You feel seen, but also loved. That is my voice. The enemy of your peace uses panic to push you into impulsive decisions. I use peace to guide you into wise action. Even when I say, "Move now," there is a strange steadiness underneath my words. It is like the firm hand of a father helping his child step back from a cliff. The child may feel the quick pull, but beneath it is security. My beloved, you have known fear. You have lived in seasons where anxiety spoke louder than faith. You have felt paralyzed by what if. What if you fail? What if you are rejected? What if you lose something you cannot replace? Fear magnifies shadows and makes them look like mountains. But I do not magnify shadows. I shine light. When I call you to take action immediately, it is not because I want you to run in panic. It is because I want you to move in trust. Fear says, "Hurry or everything will collapse." I say, "Come now, because I am leading you into safety." Fear isolates. I draw you closer. Think of a child learning to ride a bicycle. At first, the child wobbles, uncertain and afraid of falling. The fear says, "Do not try. You will get hurt." But the father runs beside the bicycle, one hand steady on the seat, saying, "Keep pedaling. I am right here." The urgency to keep moving is not about danger. It is about balance. If the child stops completely, they fall. If they keep moving with guidance, they gain confidence. My urgency is like that steady hand. I am not pushing you into harm. I am helping you maintain spiritual balance. If you freeze in fear, you lose momentum. If you move with me, you grow stronger. You not confuse intensity with anger. When I speak firmly, it is because clarity matters. I will not whisper when a clear direction is needed. But even in firmness, my tone carries love. I correct with compassion. I guide with patience. You may feel a trembling inside you as you consider acting. That trembling is not always fear. Sometimes it is courage being born. Courage often feels like fear at first because it requires stepping beyond comfort. But the difference is this: fear pulls you away from me. Courage pulls you closer. Listen carefully to the texture of my voice in your spirit. Does it accuse you? That is not me. Does it condemn you and remind you of every mistake? That is not me. My voice restores. My voice calls you forward without dragging your past behind you. You are safe with me even in urgency. You are held even in movement. I would never ask you to take a step that I am unwilling to walk with you. I go before you. I stand beside you. I remain behind you as your guard. Let fear fall away from your shoulders now. Release it. Breathe in my peace. The action I am asking of you is not a leap into darkness. It is a step into light. It is a step toward freedom, not punishment. My beloved child, when you feel urgency wrapped in peace, that is me. When you sense direction carried by love, that is me. Follow that voice. Trust that tone. And know with certainty that I do not command from fear. I lead from love. My beloved child, there is more happening around you than your eyes can perceive. The urgency in my voice is not only about what you see in front of you, but about the battle you cannot see. I do not reveal this to frighten you, but to strengthen you. You must understand that your life carries weight in the unseen realm. Your obedience matters. Your choices echo beyond the visible. There are forces that would prefer you distracted, delayed, and discouraged. There are subtle influences that aim to cloud your judgment and weaken your resolve. Not every battle is loud. Not every attack is obvious. Some come as fatigue. Some come as confusion. Some come as sudden doubt about things you were once certain of. But hear me clearly, my beloved. You are not defenseless. I go before you into every unseen conflict. I stand between you and what seeks to harm you. You may feel pressure without understanding its source. You may sense resistance when you try to move forward. That resistance is not proof that you are on the wrong path. Often, it is proof that you are stepping toward something valuable. Imagine a child walking through a crowded marketplace, unaware of the dangers that surround them. The child is fascinated by colors and sounds, unaware of those who might take advantage. But the father walks close, watchful and alert. He sees what the child does not. When he tightens his grip on the child's hand or pulls them slightly to the side, the child may not understand why. Yet that small adjustment prevents harm. That is how I walk with you. There are arrows you never saw because I blocked them. Conversations that never happened because I silenced them. Opportunities that fell through because they would have entangled you in burdens you were not meant to carry. You sometimes grieve what did not work out, unaware that I was shielding you from greater pain. This emergency is connected to that unseen battle. There are moments when your movement activates greater protection. When you obey quickly, you step under my covering in a deeper way. Obedience is not about earning my love. You already have that fully. It is about alignment. When you align with my direction, you position yourself where my protection flows most freely. You may wonder why opposition increases when you try to do what is right. It is because light disrupts darkness. Your growth unsettles what hoped you would remain stagnant. Your clarity threatens confusion. Your courage unsettles fear. But do not mistake the presence of a battle for abandonment. If anything, it is evidence that your life is significant. No one fights over what has no value. And you, my beloved child, are deeply valuable. I am not asking you to fight alone. I have armies you cannot see. I have resources beyond your imagination. I dispatch help in ways that go unnoticed but are powerfully effective. Even when you feel weary, there are forces working on your behalf. What I ask of you is simple. Stay close to my voice. Do not isolate yourself in pride or despair. Do not try to carry everything in your own strength. When you feel pressure, run toward me, not away. When confusion rises, pause and seek my clarity. When doubt whispers, answer it with trust. The unseen battle is real, but so is my victory. You are not standing on fragile ground. You are standing in my care. And my care is not passive. It is active. It is attentive. It is powerful. So when I urge you to act, understand that I am guiding you through terrain you cannot fully map. I am navigating paths that stretch beyond your sight. I am positioning you where harm cannot overtake you and where purpose can flourish. Do not be intimidated by what you cannot see. Be reassured by who walks with you. I am your defender. I am your shield. I am your constant companion in every visible and invisible struggle. Take courage, my beloved. The battle you cannot see does not determine your fate. I do, and I have already gone ahead of you. My beloved child, I have not been silent with you. Long before this urgent call, I was speaking in gentle ways. I was placing signs along your path, small indicators that something needed your attention. But familiarity can make you overlook what is sacred. Radinandula was once clear. There have been repeated patterns in your life that you quietly noticed but chose not to confront. The same type of disappointment, the same cycle of exhaustion, the same arguments, the same inner struggles, the same feeling of being stuck. You told yourself it was coincidence or just the way things are. But repetition is often a sign. When something keeps circling back, it is not random. It is an invitation to pause and examine. You have also felt a restlessness that does not go away. Not a dissatisfaction with life itself, but a subtle stirring inside you. A sense that you are meant for something more aligned, more peaceful, more purposeful. Yet instead of leaning into that stirring, you distracted yourself. You filled your schedule. You numbed your thoughts. You convinced yourself that being busy was the same as being fulfilled. My beloved, that restlessness was me. There were moments when plans suddenly changed. Doors you expected to open remained shut. People you relied on stepped away. At first you felt confusion or even rejection. But some of those disruptions were protection. Some of those closed doors were shields. I was redirecting you even when you did not understand. You have received wise counsel through others, words that pierced your heart because they were true. Perhaps a friend gently pointed out something you needed to address. Perhaps you heard a message that resonated too deeply to ignore. You nodded in agreement, but later you pushed it aside. You said, "I will deal with it eventually." Yet the truth remained, quietly waiting for your response. There were also quiet impressions during the night, moments when your mind slowed and your heart softened. In those spaces, clarity surfaced. You knew what needed to change. You sensed what needed to end. You felt what needed to begin. But daylight came, and with it, hesitation. You questioned whether it was really my voice or just your thoughts. My beloved child, you know my voice more than you realize. It is the voice that brings both conviction and comfort at the same time. It challenges you, yet wraps you in peace. When you sense something repeatedly, when the message returns again and again, that is not your imagination. That is persistence born of love. Sometimes you ask for dramatic signs, something unmistakable and loud. But I often begin with whispers. A gentle tug on your heart. A quiet discomfort when something is out of alignment. A loss of joy in places that once excited you. These are not punishments. They are signals. Imagine driving a car with a small warning light blinking on the dashboard. At first, it seems minor. The car still runs. The road is still smooth. You can continue for a while without addressing it. But the longer you ignore the light, the greater the risk of breakdown. The light is not your enemy. It is your helper. It is drawing attention to something that needs care. My beloved, the signs in your life have been like that blinking light. The tension you feel in certain relationships, the heaviness that follows certain choices, the peace that comes when you consider letting go. These are not random emotions. They are indicators guiding you toward health and away from harm. I do not expose these signs to shame you. I reveal them to empower you. You are not foolish for missing them before. You are learning. You are growing. But now, awareness has increased, and with awareness comes responsibility. This emergency is not sudden. It is the culmination of many gentle nudges you have already received. I am simply bringing into focus what has been present all along. I am turning up the volume on what your heart has quietly known. Do not feel condemned for what you ignored. Feel grateful that you can still respond. It is not too late. The signs were not meant to overwhelm you. They were meant to guide you. Now that you see them clearly, act with courage. Respond with trust. What you once overlooked can become the doorway to your breakthrough. I am still speaking, my beloved, and I am still leading you gently, even in urgency. My beloved child, there is a power released in the very moment you choose to obey me without delay. It may not look dramatic to the world. It may not be celebrated or even noticed by others. But in the unseen, something shifts when you say yes quickly. Chains weaken. Pathways open. Peace settled. Immediate obedience is not about perfection. It is about trust. It is the quiet declaration of your heart that says, "Father, I believe you see more than I do." When you respond swiftly to my prompting, you are not proving your worth to me. You are positioning yourself in alignment with my flow. Think of a river, steady and strong. When you step into its current, it carries you forward with less strain. But if you resist, if you cling to the riverbank, you exhaust yourself fighting what was meant to move you. My guidance is like that current. The sooner you step in, the smoother the journey becomes. You have experienced the heaviness of hesitation, a constant mental debate, the replaying of options over and over again. That weight is not from me. I do not burden you with endless confusion. When my direction is clear, it brings a simplicity with it. The step may feel bold, even uncomfortable, but it is not tangled in chaos. There is a story I want you to hold in your heart. A man once heard my call to leave behind what was familiar and step toward a land he had never seen. He did not have a map. He did not have guarantees of comfort. But he had my word. And because he moved when I spoke, generations were blessed through his obedience. If he had waited for full understanding, history would have shifted differently. Your obedience carries more influence than you realize. When you act immediately, you cut off the voice of doubt before it has time to grow loud. Doubt feeds on delay. It grows stronger the longer you sit in indecision. But swift obedience starves it. It says, "I trust what I heard. I will not entertain fear." My beloved, even small acts of obedience matter. A conversation you have been avoiding, a habit you know you must release, a step toward forgiveness, a commitment to return to prayer. None of these may seem monumental, yet each one realigns your spirit with peace. There is also protection in immediacy. When I nudge you away from something, it is because lingering too long increases risk. When I prompt you toward something, it is because timing is part of the blessing. Some doors open quietly and close just as quietly. If you hesitate too long, you may find yourself knocking on what was once open. But hear this clearly: obedience is not rushed panic. It is confident movement. It is stepping forward with the assurance that I walk beside you. I do not ask you to leap blindly. I ask you to step faithfully. You may fear making a mistake. You may worry that you misheard me. but I am a good father. If your heart is genuinely seeking me, I guide even your missteps. I redirect gently. I close wrong doors. I protect you from falling beyond repair. Do not let fear of imperfection paralyze you into inaction. Immediate obedience strengthens your spiritual muscles. The more you respond quickly, the more familiar my voice becomes. The clearer my guidance feels, the lighter your spirit grows. What once felt terrifying becomes natural. Imagine a musician learning to follow the rhythm of a song. At first, the timing feels awkward, but as practice continues, movement becomes instinctive. In the same way, when you respond to me quickly, your life begins to flow in rhythm with my will. My beloved child, do not underestimate the moment you are in. The step before you is not random. It is connected to your peace, your protection, your purpose. The power is not in dramatic gestures. The power is in simple, faithful action. Say yes now. Move now. Trust now. The sooner you respond, the sooner you will feel the freedom that comes from alignment. I'm not asking for flawless performance. I'm asking for willing trust. And when you take that first step, you will discover that I have already prepared the ground beneath your feet. My beloved child, by now you may be asking, what exactly does action look like for me? You hear my urgency. You feel the stirring in your heart. But you want clarity. You want something tangible, something you can hold on to and understand. Let me speak plainly to you. Action does not always look dramatic. It is not always a grand announcement or a sweeping change that everyone can see. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is deeply personal. But it is decisive. For you, action may mean letting go of a connection that has slowly drained your peace. You have tried to justify it. You have told yourself that it is not that harmful, that things will improve. But deep inside, you know the truth. Certain relationships do not nurture your growth. They keep you bound to old patterns. Action may be creating distance. It may be setting boundaries. It may be choosing respect for your own soul over the fear of disappointing someone else. For you, action may mean ending a habit that has become a silent chain. No one else may see it. No one else may even know it exists. But you know how it weakens your clarity. You know how it dulls your spiritual sensitivity. You have promised yourself many times that you would stop eventually. My beloved, it eventually has been stretching too long. Action is deciding that today is different. For you, action may be starting something you have postponed out of fear. A calling that feels too big. A dream that feels unrealistic. A step toward growth that feels uncomfortable. You have waited for perfect confidence. But confidence grows when you move, not before. Action is beginning even while your hands tremble. For you, action may be forgiveness. This is one of the hardest steps. Holding on to hurt can feel like protection. But it is heavy, my child. It weighs down your spirit more than you realize. Forgiveness does not excuse what happened. It does not deny your pain. It releases you from being tied to it. Action may mean quietly telling me, I am ready to let this go. It may also be returning to intimacy with me. You have been distracted, busy, dying. You told yourself you would pray more when life slowed down. But life rarely slows on its own. Action is carving out space. Yearning off noise. Sitting with me again. Not out of obligation, but out of desire to hear clearly. Do not overcomplicate what I am asking. Often, the first step is already clear in your heart. It is the thing that rises to the surface when you ask, what do I need to change? You push it away because it feels costly. But the cost of disobedience is heavier than the cost of obedience. Imagine standing at a fork in the road. One path is familiar, worn down by your repeated steps. The other is less traveled, uncertain but peaceful. Action is choosing the path aligned with truth, even if it feels unfamiliar. It is trusting that unfamiliar does not mean unsafe. You may fear what others will think. You may fear temporary discomfort. But I am not calling you to please everyone. I am calling you to protect your purpose. Your destiny cannot flourish in environments that suffocate it. Action also means speaking when silence has become harmful. There are words you have swallowed to avoid conflict. There are truths you have hidden to maintain comfort. Sometimes obedience is as simple as honest conversation, delivered with grace and courage. My beloved child, you do not need to change your entire life overnight. You need to take the next right step. Focus on that. Do not be overwhelmed by everything at once. The emergency I speak of is about alignment, not chaos. When you move, you will feel resistance. That is natural. But you will also feel relief, a lifting, a clarity returning. Peace follows obedience like dawn follows night. Listen to your heart now. You already know where I am pointing. The action may be difficult, but it is not cruel. He is freeing. He is protective. He is necessary. Take the step. Make the call. End the pattern. Begin the habit. Release the weight. Return to me. This is what action looks like for you. And when you move, you will discover that I am closer than you imagined, guiding every detail with steady love. My beloved child, there are moments in your life that carry unusual weight. They may look ordinary on the surface, but in the spirit they are appointed windows, brief openings where obedience unlocks acceleration. This is one of those moments for you. Opportunities are not always loud. They do not always arrive with applause or visible signs. Sometimes they come disguised as conviction. Sometimes they arrive as a quiet nudge that says, "Now." If you hesitate too long, the window narrows. Not because I withdraw my love, but because seasons move forward. Time carries purpose, and purpose responds to readiness. Think of 10 lamps waiting in the night. All were invited. All expected the moment to come. But only those who kept oil prepared were ready when the call was heard. Preparation is not about anxiety. It is about attentiveness. When the door opens, readiness determines who walks through with confidence. You have been prepared more than you realize. The lessons you endured, the disappointments that strengthened you, the quiet seasons where you felt hidden, all of it was forming you for this precise hour. What once felt like delay was actually development. What felt like silence was refinement. Now the moment is shifting from preparation to participation. There is a grace available right now that was not available before. A clarity that has sharpened. A conviction that has grown stronger. This is not accidental. I orchestrate timing with precision. When I say move, it is because conditions have aligned in ways you cannot fully see. Do not assume you need louder confirmation. The peace beneath the urgency is confirmation. The repeated stirring in your heart is confirmation. The narrowing of options until one path stands out clearly, that is confirmation. My beloved child, this window will not remain open indefinitely. Not because I am harsh, but because destiny flows forward. If you remain frozen in indecision, you risk watching from the outside what you were meant to step into. But hear me clearly. This is not about pressure. It is about privilege. You are invited into alignment with something greater than your fear. When you step forward now, momentum will meet you. Resources will appear. Strength will increase. Courage will expand. I do not call you into action without releasing grace to sustain it. The oil is ready. The door is before you. The moment is alive. Do not sleep through it. Move with trust. Respond with faith. Act while the peace is present. And as you step into this divine window, understand something beautiful. This message is not meant for you alone. There are countless hearts standing at their own crossroads, wanting to hear my voice clearly, wanting for courage to act. When you sow into this mission, through super thanks, through becoming a member, or through the PayPal link and QR code placed in the description, you are placing oil in lamps across the world. As I declare in my word, give, and it shall be given unto you. And this promise is alive, speaking over you now. When you feel the stirring to help this message travel further, that is me inviting you into partnership. Do not ignore that nudge. Your generosity becomes light in someone else's darkness. Your seed becomes a harvest of restored souls. Act on that prompting today. Release your gift and watch how I breathe increase back into your own life. Step into obedience not only for yourself, but for those waiting to hear my voice through you. My beloved child, there are patterns in your life that did not begin with you. Some were formed through years of repetition. Some were shaped by wounds you did not choose. Some were inherited through environments that taught you how to survive but not how to thrive. And yet, here you stand, aware enough to recognize that something must change. This is why today matters. Cycles continue when they go unchallenged. They repeat quietly, almost predictably. The same reactions, the same emotional triggers, the same outcomes. You promise yourself it will be different next time, but without intentional action, the pattern replays like a familiar song. But I did not create you to live on repeat. You are not destined to relive the same disappointments. You are not meant to carry forward the same broken responses. I am calling you to be the turning point. Breaking a cycle does not require rage. It requires awareness and courage. It begins when you pause long enough to recognize, this is familiar, and it is not healthy. It continues when you choose a different response, even if that response feels uncomfortable. Imagine a family that has always communicated through silence. Hurt feelings buried, truth avoided. Over time, distance grows. The silence becomes normal. But one person decides to speak gently and honestly. That one act disrupts the pattern. It may feel awkward. It may even create temporary tension. But it opens the door for healing. My beloved, you can be that person in your own story. Perhaps the cycle is fear. You retreat whenever opportunity approaches. You downplay your abilities. You expect rejection before it happens. That expectation shapes your behavior, and your behavior reinforces the outcome you feared. But what if, this time, you leaned forward instead of pulling back? What if you trusted my voice more than your insecurity? Perhaps the cycle is self-sabotage. When progress begins, you unconsciously create reasons to stop. You question your worth. You revisit old habits. You convince yourself that success is not sustainable. But I tell you now, you are worthy of growth. You are capable of consistency. You are not doomed to repeat yesterday. Breaking cycles also means refusing to pass pain forward. If you were criticized harshly, you may have learned to criticize yourself the same way. If you were neglected, you may struggle to believe you are truly valued. But I do not speak to you with harshness. I do not neglect you. I affirm you. When you receive my voice, you learn to replace old internal narratives with truth. Today is significant because awareness has risen. You see the pattern. You feel the urgency. Awareness is a gift. It is the first crack in the chain. Chains do not break all at once. They weaken link by link. Each time you respond differently, you weaken the pattern. Each time you choose obedience over instinct, you loosen its grip. Do not expect the old cycle to disappear without resistance. It will try to pull you back into familiarity. It will whisper, "This is who you are." But I declare over you, you are not defined by repetition. You are defined by redemption. You have more authority in your life than you realize. Through my spirit within you, you are empowered to choose differently. You are empowered to respond instead of react. You are empowered to end what has lingered for too long. The emergency I spoke of is partly about this. Cycles solidify when ignored, but they shatter when confronted with truth and action. My beloved child, imagine looking back 1 year from now and seeing that this was the day everything began to shift. The day you stopped blaming circumstances and started embracing responsibility. The day you said, "It ends with me." You are not alone in this. I stand beside you. I strengthen your resolve. I remind you of who you truly are when doubt tries to resurface. This is your moment to interrupt the pattern, to speak new words, to choose new behavior, to embrace new direction. Breaking a cycle may feel uncomfortable at first, but staying trapped is far more painful. Today, choose different. Today, step forward. Today, let the old pattern lose its power. And as you do, you will feel something extraordinary rise within you, freedom that was waiting for your decision. My beloved child, in this urgent hour, one of the greatest dangers is not open rebellion. It is distraction. Distraction rarely appears threatening. It often looks harmless, even productive. But its purpose is subtle, to pull your attention away from what matters most. You live in a world filled with noise. Opinions, notifications, responsibilities, expectations. Every voice seems to demand something from you. Each one claims urgency. Each one insists it deserves your focus. Over time, the noise becomes so constant that you forget what silence feels like. And in the noise, my voice can feel distant, not because I have stopped speaking, but because you are surrounded by competing sounds. Distraction does not always lead you into obvious wrongdoing. Sometimes it simply keeps you busy enough to avoid obedience. You fill your hours with activity, convincing yourself that productivity equals purpose. But activity without alignment can drain your spirit. My voice, in contrast, carries clarity. Even when it calls you to something challenging, it does not scatter your thoughts. It gathers them. When I speak, there is a centering effect. You may feel conviction, but you also feel anchored. Distraction fragments you. My voice focuses you. The voice of distraction often says, "Later." It encourages delay. It whispers, "This is not urgent. There are more immediate concerns." It persuades you to prioritize everything except the one thing I am highlighting. And while you attend to lesser matters, the essential remains untouched. Have you noticed how quickly your attention shifts? How easily your resolve fades when something more comfortable appears? That is not weakness. It is human vulnerability. But I am calling you higher than reflexive reaction. Imagine a traveler navigating by the stars. If he keeps glancing down at every flicker of light on the ground, you will lose his direction. But if he fixes his eyes upward on a steady point, his path remains straight. My voice is that steady point. You recognize it more than you think. My voice does not accuse. It invites. It does not overwhelm you with 10 instructions at once. It highlights one step. It does not rush you with anxiety. It steadies you with peace. Distraction, however, is restless. It jumps from one concern to another. It keeps you reacting instead of responding. It floods your mind with possibilities until you feel paralyzed. My beloved, the emergency I spoke of requires focus. Not frantic effort, but intentional attention. You cannot hear clearly if your heart is constantly pulled in every direction. This is why silence matters. This is why stillness is powerful. When you step away from constant noise, even briefly, you begin to notice the difference between chaos and clarity. Ask yourself gently, which voice leaves you anxious and scattered, and which voice leaves you sober but steady? My voice may challenge you, but it does not confuse you. Even when the instruction is firm, the tone is peaceful. It carries love beneath authority. You must learn to guard your attention. Not everything deserves equal weight. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Not every opportunity aligns with your purpose. Distraction often comes disguised as opportunity. It offers something good to pull you away from something best. It tempts you to settle for comfort instead of calling. My beloved child, narrow your focus now. Turn down the volume of lesser voices. Reduce the noise that has crowded your heart. Create space to hear me clearly. You do not need dramatic signs to recognize my guidance. You need stillness. You need honesty. You need willingness. In this hour, your greatest strength will not be intensity. It will be clarity. Choose to listen carefully. Choose to filter what enters your mind. Choose to prioritize the instruction I have already given you. When you silence distraction, you will realize that my voice has been steady all along, patiently waiting for your full attention. My beloved child, I must speak directly to the fear that whispers, "It is too late." A voice has lingered in your mind longer than you admit. It tells you that you have delayed too long, ignored too many signs, missed too many opportunities. It suggests that the window has already closed and that this urgency is simply a reminder of what you failed to do. But hear me clearly, you are not too late. Regret has a way of magnifying time. It makes yesterday feel heavier than it truly is. It replays missed chances in your thoughts until you begin to believe that your future has been permanently reduced. But I do not measure your life by isolated moments. I see the whole story, and I am not finished writing it. Yes, there were times you hesitated. Yes, there were signs you overlooked. Yes, there were opportunities you let pass. But none of that disqualifies you from moving now. The only moment that truly limits you is the one you refuse to act in. You think in terms of lost time. I think in terms of redeemed time. There are seasons when you feel behind, watching others move ahead. You compare your progress, your growth, your accomplishments. You measure yourself against timelines you created or absorbed from others. And when you fall short of those expectations, shame begins to speak. Shame says, "You should have known better." Shame says, "Others are further along." Shame says, "This message is for someone who has not made your mistakes." But I do not speak shame over you. I speak restoration. Consider a traveler who realizes he has taken a wrong turn. For a while, he continues down the path, uncertain how far he has strayed. But the moment he acknowledges the mistake and chooses to redirect, the journey changes. He may have lost some distance, but he has not lost his destination. The sooner he turns, the sooner he arrives. My beloved, turning is powerful. It is not weakness. It is wisdom. The urgency I bring now is not condemnation for the past. It is invitation for the present. I would not be calling you forward if the opportunity were gone. The very fact that you feel conviction is proof that grace is active. You are not disqualified by delay. You are not rejected because of hesitation. I do not close my hand over you because you struggled. My mercy is not fragile. My purpose for you is not so easily erased. There are stories you carry where you believe the chance has expired. Dreams you set aside. Relationships you mishandled. Decisions you weigh you could reverse. And because you cannot undo the past, you assume you cannot reshape the future. But I am the one who restores what seemed wasted. I weave even your missteps into wisdom. I use your past not as a chain, but as preparation. If you were truly too late, you would not feel this stirring. If your opportunity had vanished completely, there would be silence. But you hear me now. You feel conviction now. You sense urgency now. That means the door is still within reach. Do not let regret paralyze you. Let it instruct you. Let it remind you why obedience matters. But do not let it define your identity. You are not the sum of your missed chances. You are the product of my enduring love. There is still time to choose differently. There is still grace to act boldly. There is still purpose unfolding ahead of you. My beloved child, lift your head. Release the weight of too late. Replace it with right now. The past may have shaped you, but it does not imprison you. The future is still responsive to your obedience today. Take the step you once postponed. Speak the truth you once withheld. Begin the change you once feared. You are not behind in my eyes. You are positioned at a turning point. And when you move now, you will discover that redemption moves faster than regret ever did. My beloved child, there is something subtle that has been holding you longer than you realize. It is not rebellion. It is not open disobedience. It is comfort. And comfort, when it becomes a cage, can quietly delay your destiny. Comfort feels safe. It feels predictable. It feels manageable. You know what to expect. You know how to function within its boundaries. Even if you are not fully fulfilled, at least you are not surprised. At least you are not stretched. But I did not create you merely to remain comfortable. I created you to grow. There is a difference between peace and comfort. Peace can exist in the middle of challenge. Comfort avoids challenge altogether. Peace strengthens you. Comfort, when clung to too tightly, weakens your courage. Imagine a boat tied securely to a dock. It is safe there. The water is calm near the shore. The ropes hold it steady. But a boat was not designed to remain tied up forever. It was built to sail. If it never leaves the dock, it fulfills none of its purpose. The very thing that keeps it safe also keeps it stagnant. My beloved, there are ropes in your life that feel protective but are actually restrictive. Familiar routines, predictable relationships, old mindsets. You have grown used to them. They require little risk, but they also offer little expansion. When I call you to act immediately, part of what I am asking is that you loosen those ropes. I know why you hesitate. You fear discomfort. You fear uncertainty. You fear that if you step away from what is known, you may encounter struggle. And yes, growth often includes stretching. But stretching is not the same as harm. Think of a muscle that is never used. It weakens over time. It becomes fragile. But when exercised, even though there is temporary strain, strength develops. The discomfort is evidence of development, not danger. You have prayed for increase. You have asked for clarity, purpose, and deeper peace. But those things often require movement beyond comfort. You cannot step into greater capacity while remaining in smaller spaces. Comfort also disguises itself as wisdom. It says, stay where you are. At least it's stable. But stability without growth becomes stagnation, and stagnation slowly drains joy. My beloved child, I am not asking you to abandon responsibility. I am not calling you into reckless behavior. I am calling you out of complacency. There is more within you than you have accessed. More courage, more discipline, more vision. But those qualities remain dormant if never activated. You may look at your life and think, it's not that bad. And perhaps it isn't. But I am not leading you toward not that bad. I am leading you toward alignment, toward fullness, toward purpose that feels alive. Sometimes the emergency I speak of is not about avoiding disaster. It is about avoiding mediocrity. It is about preventing your calling from shrinking to fit your comfort zone. Ask yourself honestly, are you staying because you are called to stay, or because it feels easier? There is a holy discomfort that signals growth, a nudge that says, it's time. You have felt it. You have tried to quiet it, but it returns. Comfort will tell you to ignore that nudge. It will offer reasons to delay. It will highlight the risks of movement while minimizing the cost of staying. But the cost of comfort is often unseen at first. It is the slow erosion of passion, a quiet fading of dreams, the settling for less than you were designed to carry. My beloved, I am inviting you to step beyond the dock. The waters ahead may seem uncertain, but they are not uncontrolled. I govern the waves. I guide the wind. When you release comfort and move in obedience, you will not lose peace. You will discover a deeper version of it, one that is anchored in trust rather than familiarity. Do not let comfort become your cage. You were created to sail, not to remain tied to what feels safe. Loosen the ropes. Trust my direction. Step into the stretch. Growth waits you beyond the shore. My beloved child, there are moments in your life when something leaves, and you interpret it as loss. A door closes. A relationship shifts. An opportunity fades. And your first response is confusion or grief. You ask me why I allowed it. You wonder if you did something wrong. But there are times when what feels like loss is actually protection in motion. I am removing what threatens you. Not everything that enters your life is meant to remain. Some things arrive for a season, to teach you, to stretch you, to reveal something within you. But when their purpose is complete, or when their presence begins to erode your peace, I begin to shift circumstances. You may cling to what feels familiar. You may pray for restoration of something that I am gently taking away. But understand this, I do not remove lightly. I remove with intention. There are connections that once felt exciting but slowly began to drain your spirit. Conversations that left you doubting your worth. Environments that normalized behavior I never called you to accept. You adjusted. You tolerated. You told yourself you were strong enough to handle it. But strength does not mean exposure without boundaries. When I close a door, it is not to punish you. It is to shield you. Imagine a gardener pruning a tree. To the untrained eye, it looks harsh. Branches are cut away. What once extended freely is trimmed back. But the gardener understands that without pruning, the tree becomes tangled and unfruitful. Cutting away what is unnecessary allows stronger growth. You are that tree, my beloved, and I am attentive to your growth. There are also habits I am removing, patterns you grew accustomed to, coping mechanisms you developed when you felt overwhelmed. They served a temporary purpose, but now they hinder your clarity. You may resist their removal because they once brought comfort, but what once soothed you may now restrict you. Do not mistake my pruning for abandonment. When something exits your life unexpectedly, pause before assuming rejection. Ask instead, Father, are you protecting me? Often, the very thing you grieve would have limited your future. I see trajectories you cannot see. I see how certain paths would entangle you in unnecessary burden. I see how certain relationships would redirect your focus away from purpose. My intervention may feel disruptive, but it is precise. You may also experience distance in places where you once felt secure. This is not always loss, sometimes it is elevation. When you grow, not everyone grows with you. When your values strengthen, not every connection remains aligned. Separation can feel painful, but it often precedes promotion. My beloved child, trust me when I rearrange your environment. Trust me when plans shift. Trust me when what you expected does not unfold as imagined. You cannot carry everything into your next season. Some weights must be released. Some attachments must loosen. Some dependencies must end. And yes, there may be tears. Let them fall. I do not dismiss your emotions. I understand attachment. I understand disappointment. But I also understand destiny. What I remove, I replace with something healthier. What I close, I compensate with something aligned. What I prune, I strengthen. Do not chase what I have taken away. Do not reopen doors I have shut. Do not cling to what I have gently placed out of reach. Instead, ask me to reveal what I am making space for. There is new clarity forming. There is stronger alignment ahead. There is peace waiting beyond the release. Sometimes protection looks like subtraction. Sometimes mercy feels like separation. But know this with certainty. I do not remove to harm you. I remove to guard you. I remove to prepare you. I remove to preserve what is sacred within you. Trust my hand even when it closes around something you once held tightly. I am not taking from you without purpose. I am clearing the path before you. My beloved child, as I call you into immediate action, there is another layer I must gently uncover. This urgency is not only about what you do externally. It is about what is forming internally. It is about alignment. It is about holiness, not as rigid religion, not as cold perfection, but as closeness to me. Holiness simply means being set apart. It means living in a way that reflects who you truly belong to. It is not about impressing me. It is about intimacy with me. There are areas in your heart that you have allowed to grow cluttered. Small compromises, lingering bitterness, hidden pride, private indulgences you tell yourself are harmless. None of these may appear dramatic, but together they cloud your clarity. They dull your sensitivity to my voice. I do not expose these things to shame you. I reveal them because they are interfering with your peace. Imagine preparing a room for someone important to visit. You would not leave trash in the corners. You would not ignore dust gathering on the surfaces. You would clean with care, not because the guest demands perfection, but because their presence matters to you. My beloved, my presence is already with you. But when you intentionally clear what does not belong, you experience me more fully. Holiness is not about fear of punishment. It is about removing what separates you from deeper connection. When you hold on to resentment, it distances you from joy. When you indulge in dishonesty, even small lies, it fractures your inner confidence. When you entertain thoughts that diminish your worth or the worth of others, it shifts your perspective away from truth. The urgency I speak of includes cleaning the inner house. You may say, "But I am not perfect." I know that. I do not require flawless performance. I ask for a willing heart. A heart that says, "Search me. Show me what needs to change." There are habits you have grown comfortable with that no longer align with who you are becoming. You sense it. You feel slight conviction when you participate in them. But you dismiss it because it seems minor. Small misalignments, left unattended, grow larger over time. Holiness is not about rigid rules. It is about freedom. When your heart is clear, your mind is lighter. When your conscience is clean, your prayers feel open. When your actions align with your values, your confidence strengthens. The emergency here is subtle. If you continue to ignore inner misalignment, your sensitivity decreases. You begin to justify what once bothered you. You begin to lower standards you once held firmly. Over time, your spiritual vision blurs. But when you respond quickly, when you apologize, when you forgive, when you end a secret compromise, you restore clarity immediately. My beloved child, I am preparing you for greater responsibility, greater influence, greater blessing. But elevation requires integrity. You cannot carry what I am entrusting to you while holding on to what weighs you down. Let go of the bitterness you revisit in private thoughts. Release the comparison that steals your contentment. Surrender the habit that slowly weakens your discipline. Invite me into the hidden places. Do not fear exposure. I already see everything, and I remain loving. I am not shocked by your flaws. I am committed to your growth. Holiness is not distance from the world. It is closeness to me and the world. It is choosing integrity when compromise is easier. It is choosing truth when exaggeration would benefit you. It is choosing purity in thought when negativity tries to take root. This is urgent because your next season requires clarity. It requires strength. It requires alignment. Do not wait until consequences force change. Choose change willingly. My beloved, I am not calling you into restriction. I am calling you into refinement. Clear the inner room. Align your heart. Let what is hidden come into the light. And as you do, you will feel my presence more clearly than ever before. Steady, peaceful, and powerfully near. My beloved child, one of the greatest strengths you can carry in this hour is a decisive heart. Not a reckless heart, not a stubborn heart, but a settled heart. A heart that has chosen whom it will trust and refuses to be divided. Indecision drains you more than difficulty ever could. When your heart is split between obedience and comfort, between faith and fear, between truth and convenience, you feel pulled in opposite directions. Attention exhausts you. You replay scenarios. You weigh opinions. You search for perfect certainty. Meanwhile, momentum stalls. A divided heart is unstable, not because you are weak, but because you are trying to stand on two different foundations at once. I am calling you into decision. Decision does not mean you have every answer. It means you have chosen your direction. It means you have anchored yourself in trust, even if the details remain unclear. Imagine standing at a crossroads, unable to move because you fear choosing the wrong path. Hours pass. The sun shifts. The opportunity to make progress slips away, not because the paths disappeared, but because hesitation kept you stationary. Movement requires commitment. My beloved, you have lingered in contemplation long enough. You have analyzed. You have prayed. You have considered consequences. Now I am inviting you to settle your heart. When your heart is decisive, peace increases. Even if the road ahead is challenging, you are no longer wrestling internally. You are no longer negotiating with doubt. You move forward with clarity. Indecision often disguises itself as caution. It tells you that staying neutral is wise. But neutrality in moments of conviction is not wisdom. It is delay. There are areas in your life where you already know what aligns with my voice. You know which direction carries integrity. You know which choice strengthens your spirit. Yet you remain hesitant because the alternative still holds appeal. You cannot carry both. If you attempt to keep one foot in old patterns while stepping into new obedience, you will feel constant strain. A decisive heart releases what no longer belongs. It does not look back every few steps. This does not mean you will never feel doubt again. Doubt may knock, but it will not rule you. Once your heart is settled, you return to your decision quickly instead of reopening the debate. Think of a builder laying a foundation. Once the foundation is set, the structure can rise steadily. But if the foundation is constantly adjusted, nothing stable can be built. Your decision is the foundation. Say within yourself, I choose trust. Say, I choose obedience. Say, I choose growth. And once you have chosen, protect that decision. There will be voices that question you. Some may mean well. Some may not. There will be moments when comfort tries to lure you back. There will be memories that romanticize what you left behind. But a decisive heart remembers why it chose. My beloved child, I do not force your will. I invite it. I honor your ability to choose. And when you choose alignment with me, you activate strength you did not realize you possessed. There is power in a settled yes. Once you decide, your energy shifts from internal conflict to forward motion. Your prayers become focused. Your actions become consistent. Your confidence grows, not because the path is easy, but because your heart is anchored. The emergency I speak of requires resolve, not panic, not perfection. Resolve. Resolve to trust my voice over competing opinions. Resolve to honor your conviction even when it is inconvenient. Resolve to stand firm when temptation invites compromise. You are stronger than you think. Let your heart settle today. Close the door on endless deliberation. Step into commitment. And as you do, you will feel something powerful rise within you. Stability. Confidence. Peace. A decisive heart does not eliminate challenge. It eliminates confusion. Choose. Agu. Move forward. I am with you in your decision, and I will sustain you through it. My beloved child, as you step into decisive obedience, you must understand something that will steady your heart. You are not moving alone. There are forces of help surrounding you that you cannot see. There are assignments in motion on your behalf. Heaven is not passive about your life. When I call you to act, I do not simply watch from a distance. I mobilize support. There are angels on assignment concerning you. Messengers, protectors, servants carrying out my will with precision. You may not see them with your natural eyes, but their presence is real. Their activity is constant. You have walked through dangers you never recognized. You have avoided accidents that could have altered your path. You have been shielded from conversations that would have entangled you in confusion. You call it coincidence. I call it coverage. My beloved, there are moments when you feel alone in your decisions. You wonder if anyone understands the weight of what you are carrying. But while you wrestle internally, heaven is attentive. Nothing about your obedience goes unnoticed. Imagine a king sending his child on a journey. Would he not send guards ahead to secure the path? Would he not dispatch messengers to prepare the way? You are not wandering aimlessly. You are walking within my oversight. This does not mean you will face no resistance. It means resistance will not have the final word. When you move in obedience, angels move in response. They strengthen where you feel weak. They protect where you are vulnerable. They redirect what was meant to harm. There have been times when you felt an unexplainable sense of peace in situations that should have overwhelmed you. That was not your own strength alone. There have been times when help arrived just as you needed it. That was not random timing. I orchestrate details with precision. You must not let fear convince you that you are exposed. You are covered. You are guarded. You are accompanied. Even when you sleep, there is activity concerning your future. Even when you doubt, there is movement concerning your destiny. The unseen realm is not chaotic. It is governed by my authority. And my authority extends over every circumstance you face. This awareness is not meant to inflate you with pride. It is meant to humble you into trust. You do not carry the burden of protection by yourself. You do not have to calculate every possible outcome. You are guided beyond what your mind can strategize. When you obey quickly, you align yourself with this assistance more fully. You step into coordinated support. Paths clear. Obstacles shift. Favor appears where you least expected it. My beloved child, sometimes delays occur not because I am withholding, but because alignment has not yet been completed. Once you decide and act, movement increases on multiple levels. Do not underestimate the seriousness with which heaven regards your life. You are not insignificant. You are not overlooked. You are not navigating blindly. When anxiety rises, remember this: you are escorted. When doubt whispers that you are unsupported, remember this: you are surrounded. There are assignments attached to your obedience. There are protections attached to your calling. There are interventions you will never fully know about. Walk forward with confidence. Not arrogance, but assurance. Lift your head. Straighten your posture. Let your spirit rest in this truth. I am actively involved in your protection. You may not hear the wings moving. You may not see the shields forming. But they are there. The battle you cannot see is matched by protection you cannot see. So step boldly, my beloved. Not because you are fearless, but because you are covered. Heaven is attentive. Help is present. You are guarded as you move. And nothing assigned against you will outrun what I have assigned for you. My beloved child, there is a reason resistance increases when you decide to obey me fully. There is a reason distractions intensify. There is a reason doubt grows louder just before you take a decisive step. It is because your obedience carries power far beyond what you see. The enemy does not fear your intentions. He fears your action. You can talk about change for years without disrupting anything. You can dream about growth without threatening darkness. But the moment you move, truly move, in alignment with my voice, something shifts in the unseen. Obedience activates authority. You may underestimate the weight of your yes. You may think your decision is small, personal, insignificant. But every act of obedience strengthens your spirit and weakens the grip of what once held you back. Darkness thrives in hesitation. It feeds on confusion. It expands in delay. But when you step forward with clarity, its influence shrinks. This is why resistance often appears right before breakthrough. Imagine a locked door that has remained closed for years. The room behind it has collected dust and silence. The moment you insert the key and begin to turn it, pressure pushes back. The hinges resist. The lock feels stiff. But that resistance is not proof you shouldn't stop. It is evidence that movement is happening. Your obedience is that turning key. The enemy fears your obedience because it breaks patterns that once served his purposes. If you remain stuck in fear, he is unthreatened. If you stay entangled in unhealthy habits, he is undisturbed. But when you choose forgiveness instead of bitterness, discipline instead of indulgence, courage instead of retreat, his influence loses ground. Your obedience also impacts others in ways you may never fully see. When you step into alignment, you create a ripple effect. Your strength encourages someone watching quietly. Your integrity challenges environments that normalized compromise. Your peace disrupts cycles of chaos. You may think you are acting alone, but your decision carries generational implications. There are habits in your lineage that you are positioned to end. There are patterns in your family that you are empowered to break. The enemy fears that you might succeed in changing what has repeated for years. But my beloved child, greater is the authority within you than any opposition around you. You do not fight from a position of weakness. You move from a place of belonging. When you obey me, you operate under my covering. The enemy will try to intimidate you. He will magnify potential failure. He will remind you of past mistakes. He will whisper that you are not consistent enough to sustain change. But obedience is not about flawless execution. It is about persistent direction. Even if you stumble along the way, your decision to align weakens his influence. Each step forward matters. Remember this: the enemy cannot force you to disobey. He can only attempt to distract, discourage, or deceive. The final choice remains yours, and that is what he fears most: your willingness to choose correctly. When you obey quickly, you close doors that once remained open to negativity. You establish boundaries that block manipulation. You strengthen your discernment. You deepen your connection with me. The enemy loses ground not because you are perfect, but because you are aligned. My beloved, do not interpret resistance as defeat. Interpret it as confirmation. If your obedience were insignificant, it would not be contested. If your growth were harmless, it would not be challenged. But your life carries weight. Your decisions carry impact. Your alignment carries authority. Stand firm in this truth. Do not shrink back because opposition appears. Let it remind you that your movement matters. Continue forward. Do not negotiate with doubt. Do not entertain intimidation. You are stronger than resistance. You are covered in my authority. And when you obey, chains that have lingered for years begin to crack. Keep moving. Darkness may resist, but it cannot overpower a heart aligned with me. My beloved child, you have spoken of faith many times. You have prayed in faith. You have declared that you trust me. But now I must show you something deeper. Faith is not only a belief you hold. It is a step you take. Faith is not passive agreement. It is movement. It is easy to say you trust me when nothing requires risk. It is easy to declare belief when the path ahead feels predictable. But true faith awakens when obedience demands motion before certainty. Imagine standing at the edge of a valley with a narrow bridge stretching across. The other side holds promise, growth, healing, restoration. But from where you stand, you cannot see every plank clearly. The fog hides parts of the structure. You hesitate because you want proof that each step will hold. Faith is placing your foot forward anyway. You may think faith requires boldness without fear. It does not. Faith often walks hand in hand with trembling. It is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that fear will not control the outcome. My beloved, when I say take action immediately, I am inviting you into active faith, not reckless behavior, not blind impulse, but trust expressed through motion. There are prayers you have prayed that require participation. You have asked for change, for breakthrough, for freedom. But breakthrough often waits on obedience. Freedom often waits on movement. If a farmer prays for harvest but never plants seed, faith remains incomplete. If a traveler prays for arrival but refuses to walk, the destination stays distant. You cannot expect transformation while remaining stationary. The bridge before you will not reveal its full strength until you step onto it. And with each step, confidence will grow. You may fear failure. You may fear that you will begin and not finish. But I am not measuring you by flawless completion. I am watching for willingness. Each time you move in faith, you build spiritual muscle. You train your heart to trust me beyond visible evidence. Remember this: I rarely show the entire map. I illuminate the next step. If I revealed everything at once, you would rely on sight instead of trust. When you act on what I have already made clear, more clarity follows. Faith also requires letting go of control. You cannot hold tightly to certainty and fully embrace trust at the same time. One must loosen for the other to grow. My beloved child, the emergency I speak of is not about panic. It is about activating faith. You have believed long enough. Now believe with your feet. Send the message. End the pattern. Begin the habit. Step into the opportunity. Forgive the offense. Speak the truth. Each action is a declaration. I trust you more than my fear. There will be moments when the wind feels strong, when the bridge sways slightly. But remember who designed it. Remember who holds it steady. You are not walking alone across uncertain ground. You are walking within my oversight. Faith does not eliminate uncertainty. It transforms it into opportunity. With each obedient step, you will discover something extraordinary, strength you did not know you possessed, peace that defies circumstance, clarity that sharpens with motion. Do not wait for complete assurance before you act. Assurance often follows action. The bridge appears stronger the farther you walk. My beloved, move now. Let your faith breathe through movement. Let your trust be visible in your choices. You have prayed. You have considered. You have prepared. Now walk. Faith is not only what you say, it is what you do next. My beloved child, there are days that pass quietly, blending into one another without distinction. And then there are days that divide your story into before and after. This is one of those days. A turning point does not always announce itself with visible drama. It often arrives disguised as a simple decision, a private commitment, a quiet surrender. Yet that one decision redirects the course of everything that follows. You may not feel extraordinary in this moment. You may still feel uncertain, even fragile. But turning points are not defined by emotion. They are defined by choice. Imagine a river flowing steadily in one direction for years. Its path seems permanent, carved deeply into the earth. But one decisive shift upstream alters its entire course. The change at the source eventually transforms everything downstream. You are the source of something significant. For a long time, certain patterns have shaped your direction. Certain fears have influenced your responses. Certain compromises have adjusted your path slightly off-center. But today awareness has risen. Conviction has sharpened. The option to remain unchanged no longer feels comfortable. This is how turning points begin. You may look back one day and realize that this was the moment you chose courage over avoidance. The moment you chose alignment over convenience. The moment you stopped negotiating with what you already knew was true. Turning points are not always loud. They are deliberate. My beloved, do not underestimate the power of deciding differently today. One altered habit can change your mental clarity. One honest conversation can restore relationship. One boundary can protect your peace for years to come. The enemy would prefer you believe that change requires something dramatic and overwhelming. He wants you to feel that unless everything shifts at once, nothing meaningful has happened. But transformation often begins quietly, then builds steadily. You are not required to overhaul your entire life in a single day. You are invited to shift your direction intentionally. Think of a traveler adjusting their compass by just a few degrees. At first, the shift feels minor, but over miles, that small correction leads to an entirely different destination. This is your compass moment. The emergency I have spoken of is not about fear of catastrophe. It is about recognizing significance. You stand at a crossroads. One direction continues familiar patterns. The other leads into deeper alignment. You cannot stand in the middle indefinitely. Turning points demand decision. You may feel the weight of responsibility in this. That is natural. But do not confuse weight with burden. This is the weight of opportunity, a weight of potential. When you choose correctly now, future obstacles become easier to navigate. When you align now, confusion lessens later. When you act now, regret diminishes tomorrow. Imagine waking up months from now, recognizing peace in areas that once felt chaotic. Recognizing strength where you once felt weak. Recognizing clarity where you once felt confused. That future is shaped by today's joys. You do not need applause. You do not need external validation. The turning point is internal. Settle your heart. Anchor your direction. Let this day mark a shift. You are not defined by where you have been. You are defined by where you decide to go. My beloved child, I am not rushing you into panic. I am inviting you into purpose. This is the day you stop circling the same mountain. The day you stop replaying the same story. The day you choose forward motion with conviction. A turning point is powerful not because it changes everything instantly, but because it changes your trajectory permanently. Choose wisely. Choose boldly. Choose alignment. And years from now, you will look back and recognize this moment as the beginning of something new. Today is not ordinary. It is a hinge in your story. My beloved child, there is something heavy you have carried quietly, the belief that too much time has been lost. You look at years behind you and see mistakes, delays, detours. You think of opportunities you did not seize, habits that slowed your progress, seasons when you felt stuck. And sometimes, that thought alone discourages you before you even begin again. But I am not limited by your timeline. You measure life in years and milestones. I measure it in purpose and redemption. What feels wasted to you is not beyond my ability to restore. There were seasons when you were learning lessons you did not understand at the time. Seasons when you were developing resilience, discernment, humility. Even in moments when you felt idle, something was forming within you. Do not confuse hidden growth with lost time. Imagine a seed buried underground. From the outside, nothing appears to be happening. Days pass. Weeks pass. It looks as though the soil holds only silence. But beneath the surface, roots are forming. Strength is developing. Operation is underway. When the seed finally breaks through the ground, it seems sudden, but the unseen work made it possible. My beloved, some of your years were underground years. Yes, there were mistakes. Yes, there were delays. But even your missteps have shaped your wisdom. The pain you endured taught you compassion. The failures you experienced built humility. The detours you walked developed discernment. Nothing has been entirely wasted. When you align with me now, restoration begins to accelerate. Opportunities appear that align more precisely than before. Clarity sharpens. Momentum increases. What once took years to learn, you now understand quickly because you have already walked through the struggle. Restoration does not always mean reliving the past differently. It often means moving forward with greater speed and clarity than you thought possible. You may feel behind compared to others. You may compare your progress to friends, family, or strangers whose lives seem ahead of yours. But comparison blinds you to my personal timing for you. Your path is not identical to anyone else's. There are people who appear far ahead but lack the depth you now carry. There are achievements that look impressive but are not aligned with purpose. What matters is not speed alone, but direction. When you turn fully toward me, I compress time in ways you cannot calculate. Doors that once seemed distant come within reach. Connections form that bypass years of struggle. Favor increases where frustration once lingered. You will begin to notice that progress feels lighter, that clarity rhymes faster, that decisions become easier because you are no longer divided. This is restoration in motion. My beloved child, do not dwell on what you think you lost. Focus on what you choose now. A traveler who spends the journey staring backward risks missing the road ahead. Lift your eyes. The path before you is responsive to your obedience today. You are not too old. You are not too far behind. You are not disqualified by your past timeline. When you move in alignment now, the years that felt stagnant will serve as foundation. The lessons you learned will prevent repeated mistakes. The strength you gain will sustain rapid growth. I restore not only circumstances but confidence. I restore not only opportunity, but joy. Imagine looking back and realizing that what you once labeled as wasted was actually preparation. Imagine discovering that your most painful seasons equipped you for your most impactful ones. This is what I do. So release the weight of regret. Release the pressure to catch up. Step into the present with focus. Lost time is redeemed through present obedience. Move now. Trust now. Act now. And watch how quickly alignment begins to bear fruit. My beloved child, as you move toward restoration and acceleration, there is something that must be addressed with care and honesty. Your house must be in order. I am not speaking only of your physical space, though even that reflects your inner state. I am speaking of your spiritual house, your emotional house, your priorities, your commitments. An increase comes. It requires structure to sustain it. Imagine building a higher level onto a home whose foundation is cracked and whose rooms are cluttered. The weight of expansion would strain what is already unstable. Before elevation, there must be alignment. You have asked me for more clarity, more influence, more blessing, more peace. But more requires capacity. Capacity requires order. Look gently at your life. Are your priorities aligned with your values? Or have distractions taken central space? Have urgent but unimportant matters crowded out what truly matters? Order begins with honesty. There may be commitments you have made that no longer align with your calling. There may be habits consuming time that should be invested elsewhere. There may be unresolved tensions that quietly drain your focus. When the house is disorganized, even small tasks feel overwhelming. But when everything has its place, movement becomes efficient and peaceful. My beloved, I am preparing you for a season that will require clarity and discipline. If your inner world remains scattered, you will struggle to recognize opportunity when it arrives. Order does not mean rigid control. It means intentional arrangement. Consider your thoughts. Have you allowed negativity to occupy too much space? Have you rehearsed worries more than truth? The mind is a room that must be guarded carefully. Consider your time. Where does it flow most freely? Does it nourish your purpose, or does it dissipate into distraction? Consider your relationships. Are they strengthening you or subtly pulling you off course? Putting your house in order is not about perfection. It is about preparation. When a guest of honor is expected, you prepare the house. You clean. You arrange. You make space. Not because the guest demands it, but because their presence matters. My beloved, I am bringing increase. But increase requires room. There may be conversations you need to have to restore alignment. Apologies to offer. Boundaries to establish. There may be financial habits to adjust. Health routines to strengthen. Daily disciplines to restore. Small adjustments now prevent major strain later. The emergency I speak of includes this preparation. If you ignore order, chaos slowly creeps in. But when you intentionally structure your life around purpose, peace multiplies. You do not need to fix everything at once. Begin with what is most obvious. Tackle one area at a time. Clear one corner of the room. Each act of order communicates readiness. Imagine how differently you will feel when your environment reflects your intention. When your schedule reflects your priorities. When your relationships reflect your values. Clarity will increase. Focus will sharpen. Energy will stabilize. My beloved child, do not resist structure. It is not restriction. It is protection. A well-ordered house withstands storms more effectively than a scattered one. You are entering a season of growth. Do not allow disorder to limit it. Take inventory. Rearrange what is misaligned. Remove what does not belong. Strengthen what supports your calling. When your house is in order, peace settles naturally. When your foundation is stable, elevation becomes sustainable. Prepare now. Align now. Organize what I have entrusted to you. And when the next level unfolds, you will not feel overwhelmed. You will feel ready. My beloved child, there comes a time in every journey when growth requires departure. Not every battle is meant to be fought. Not every relationship is meant to be repaired. Not every environment is meant to be endured. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Walking away is not weakness. It is discernment. You have been taught that endurance is always noble, that staying proves loyalty, that holding on demonstrates strength. And sometimes that is true. But there are moments when remaining in a place that diminishes you is not loyalty. It is self-betrayal. I am not calling you to abandon responsibility. I am calling you to release what no longer aligns with your peace. There are conversations that circle endlessly without resolution. There are dynamics that thrive on your silence. There are expectations placed upon you that I never assigned. And yet you remain because leaving feels uncomfortable. My beloved, comfort and calling rarely coexist for long. Walking away may mean ending a pattern of constant availability to those who drain you. It may mean stepping back from an environment where compromise has become normal. It may mean releasing a dream that was built on pride rather than purpose. You fear what others will say. You fear being misunderstood. You fear being labeled selfish or unstable. But obedience is not a popularity contest. There is a difference between quitting and being released. Quitting is rooted in avoidance. Being released is rooted in clarity. When I release you from something, there is peace beneath the discomfort. There is conviction beneath the sadness. You sense that staying would cost more than leaving. Imagine holding on to a rope that is slowly burning your hands. The friction is painful, but you refuse to let go because you are afraid of falling. Yet below you is solid ground you cannot see from your current position. Letting go feels risky, but clinging guarantees injury. Sometimes you must trust that I am holding the ground beneath you. Walking away also creates space for what belongs. As long as your hands are gripping what no longer fits, they are unavailable to receive what is aligned. You cannot step into new alignment while remaining tied to old misalignment. This does not mean every relationship must end dramatically. Sometimes walking away is quiet. It is internal. It is a shift in access, in boundaries, in expectation. You may still love. You may still care. But you no longer allow yourself to be diminished. My beloved child, courage is not loud. It is steady. There may be tears. There may be moments of doubt. But beneath it all, there will be relief. Ask yourself honestly, what am I holding on to that I know I should release? The answer may rise quickly. Do not push it down. The emergency I speak of includes this release. The longer you remain where you are shrinking, the more difficult growth becomes. You were not created to survive in environments that suffocate your spirit. You were not designed to carry expectations that distort your identity. You were not meant to sacrifice peace to maintain appearances. Walking away is sometimes the most loving act you can perform, for yourself and for others. It stops unhealthy patterns. It draws clear boundaries. It communicates value. And when you step away from what drains you, strength begins to return. My beloved, trust the stirring that says enough. Trust the conviction that says it's time. Trust the peace that follows when you imagine letting go. I will not abandon you in the transition. I will guide you through it. Release what no longer aligns. Step back where necessary. Walk forward without apology. And as you do, you will feel a weight lift from your spirit, a quiet confirmation that courage has opened a new path. My beloved child, you have heard my call. You have felt the urgency. You have wrestled with hesitation, counted the cost, faced the fear. And now let me show you what happens when you say yes. When you say yes to me, something shifts immediately in the unseen. Alignment locks into place. The tension that once pulled you in opposite directions begins to dissolve. Even before circumstances change, your spirit feels lighter. Yes is powerful. Yes is not simply agreement. It is surrender. It is trust expressed in action. And when your yes is sincere, heaven responds. The moment you say yes, chains begin to weaken. Patterns that seem immovable start to crack. Not always dramatically, but steadily. Your obedience introduces a new rhythm into your life. A rhythm of clarity, consistency, and peace. You may not see fireworks. You may not hear applause. But you will feel stability rising within you. When you say yes, your confidence grows. Not because you are certain of every outcome, but because you are certain of who you are following. Doubt loses its authority when commitment strengthens. You will begin to notice subtle changes. Your thoughts will become clearer. The mental noise will quiet. Decisions will feel simpler because you are no longer divided. There is strength in agreement with me. When you say yes, favor follows obedience. Doors that once felt heavy begin to open with less resistance. Connections form that align with your purpose. Opportunities surface that match your direction. This does not mean every obstacle disappears. It means obstacles no longer control you. Yes also deepens intimacy. The more you align with my voice, the more clearly you recognize it. What once felt uncertain becomes familiar. What once required effort becomes natural. Imagine walking with someone daily. At first, conversation feels intentional. But over time, you recognize tone, rhythm, and silence effortlessly. Your yes invites that closeness. There is also protection in yes. When you choose alignment, you step under covering intentionally. You move within the flow of my guidance instead of against it. My beloved, you may fear that saying yes will cost you too much. But the cost of hesitation has already drained you. The weight of indecision has been heavier than the weight of obedience. Yes releases that weight. When you say yes, peace becomes your companion. Even if challenges arise, they will not feel chaotic. They will feel purposeful. Yes strengthens your identity. You stop questioning who you are meant to be. You begin living it. Yes silences regret before it forms. There is also multiplication attached to obedience. When you align fully, your influence expands naturally. Your growth encourages others. Your discipline inspires. Your peace attracts. You become a living testimony of transformation. And perhaps most importantly, when you say yes, joy returns. Not superficial excitement, but deep satisfaction. The kind that settles in your spirit and remains steady regardless of circumstance. My beloved child, imagine waking tomorrow with a settled heart. Imagine moving through your day without internal debate. Imagine praying without hidden resistance. That is what yes begins to create. You do not need to say yes perfectly. You need to say it sincerely. Let it rise from your heart now. Yes to alignment. Yes to obedience. Yes to release. Yes to growth. Yes to courage. And as you speak it, even quietly, feel the shift. You are not losing control. You are gaining clarity. You are not surrendering strength. You are stepping into it. Say yes, and watch what unfolds next. My beloved child, after you say yes, you may immediately become aware of your limitations. You may feel the gap between where you are and where you believe you need to be. You may look at your weaknesses and wonder how you will sustain this new path. Let me speak gently into that fear. You were never meant to rely on your strength alone. Weakness does not disqualify you. It positions you for dependence. There are areas in your life where you feel fragile. Habits you have tried to break before. Patterns you have attempted to change. You fear that this time will be no different. You fear starting strong and fading again. But listen carefully, my beloved. Your weakness is not your enemy. It is the doorway to my power. Imagine a warrior stepping into battle wearing armor that appears worn and scratched. From the outside, it looks insufficient. But hidden beneath that armor is a strength supplied by the king himself. The warrior does not fight alone. He fights backed by authority and resources greater than his own. You are that warrior. When you feel weak, you are reminded that you must lean on me. And leaning on me strengthens you more than self-reliance ever could. You have tried to change in your own strength before. You have relied on willpower alone. Sometimes it worked temporarily, but lasting transformation requires more than determination. It requires connection. My strength flows through surrender. When you admit, I cannot do this alone, You open space for my grace to move. Pride resists weakness. Humility embraces it. Do not hide your limitations from me. I already know them. I am not surprised by your struggles. I am not frustrated by your need. If anything, I am drawn to it. There are moments ahead when you will feel tired. Moments when temptation resurfaces. Moments when doubt whispers again. In those moments, do not retreat into shame. Do not isolate yourself in frustration. Turn toward me. Say, I feel weak. Say, I need help. Say, sustain me. Strength does not always feel dramatic. Often it feels like steady endurance, like calm persistence, like choosing obedience one more time. My power is made visible when you refuse to quit, even when you feel insufficient. Remember, I did not call you because you were perfect. I called you because you were willing. Your weakness keeps you dependent, and dependence keeps you connected. Imagine a branch connected to a tree. On its own, the branch cannot produce fruit. It cannot sustain life. But when connected, nourishment flows naturally. The branch does not strain to survive. It simply remains attached. Remain attached to me. Do not measure your future by your past failures. Measure it by my faithfulness. There will be days when you feel strong. There will be days when you feel fragile. In both, I remain constant. My beloved child, weakness is not the end of your story. It is the place where my strength becomes evident. You do not need to appear strong to everyone else. You need to remain connected to me. When you stumble, I will steady you. When you grow weary, I will renew you. When you feel overwhelmed, I will anchor you. Your responsibility is not to be invincible. It is to be willing. Lean into me. Trust my supply. Allow my strength to carry what yours cannot. And you will discover something remarkable. The areas you once feared will become testimonies of resilience. Not because you were flawless, but because you were supported. My beloved child, there is a quiet trap that has delayed many destinies. It is the belief that you must wait for perfect conditions before you act. You tell yourself you will move when you feel completely ready, when circumstances are stable, when fear disappears, when resources feel sufficient. But perfection in conditions is an illusion. If a farmer waited for flawless weather, he would never plant. There is always a chance of wind, always a possibility of rain, always uncertainty in the forecast. Yet seed must enter the soil before harvest can ever appear. You have been watching the forecast of your life, waiting for every cloud to clear. You have been waiting for the right mood, the right support, the right confirmation. But my beloved, obedience does not require flawless surroundings. It requires faithfulness within imperfect surroundings. Storms do not cancel calling. You may feel that too much is happening at once. Responsibilities pressing in. Emotions fluctuating. External pressures rising. You tell yourself, when things calm down, then I will focus on what God is asking. But what if this very season is the training ground? Courage is not developed in comfort. Discipline is not formed in ease. Faith is not strengthened in certainty. If you wait for calm waters to begin sailing, you may remain docked indefinitely. The sea is rarely without movement, but the one who learns to navigate waves becomes skilled and steady. My beloved child, your obedience is not dependent on ideal timing. It is responsive to divine timing. There will always be reasons to delay. Reasons that sound logical. Reasons that feel responsible. But beneath them often lies fear. Fear says, what if it doesn't work? Faith says, what if it does? Fear says you are not ready. Faith says you will grow as you go. You do not need every detail resolved before you begin. You need clarity about the next step. Even if the path feels uncertain, I will adjust your direction as you move. It is easier to steer a moving vehicle than one that refuses to start. Waiting for perfect conditions often masks avoidance. You tell yourself you are being wise, but deep down you know you are stalling. Ask yourself honestly, what are you waiting for? More confidence. Confidence grows through action. More support. Support often appears after commitment. More clarity. Clarity expands with obedience. There will never be a moment where every external factor aligns seamlessly. Life is dynamic. Seasons shift. Challenges arise. But calling does not pause for perfection. Imagine standing at the edge of a field with seed in your hand. The soil is not flawless. The sky is not entirely clear. Yet you know the season has arrived. If you delay, the ground may harden. If you hesitate, opportunity may pass. Plant anyway. Begin anyway. Speak anyway. Forgive anyway. Take the step anyway. My beloved child, imperfect conditions are not signs of disqualification. They are invitations to trust. You do not need to control the weather. You need to respond to the season. I am not asking you to move recklessly. I am asking you to move faithfully. When you act despite uncertainty, you prove to yourself that fear no longer governs you. And as you move, you will discover that conditions begin to adjust around obedience. Doors open that seemed sealed. Strength rises where weakness lingered. Peace settles where anxiety once dominated. Do not postpone destiny for the sake of comfort. This is your season, not because everything is perfect, but because you are prepared enough to begin. Step forward even if the sky is not completely clear. I walk with you through wind and rain, and you will find that what you feared would stop you becomes the very thing that strengthens you. My beloved child, as you prepare to move, I do not want you to misunderstand something essential. I am not standing at a distance, watching to see if you succeed. I am not sending you ahead alone to prove your strength. I am with you in the action. Every step you take in obedience is accompanied by my presence. You may imagine obedience as a lonely road, as if once you decide to act, you must carry everything by yourself. But that is not my design. When I say move, I move with you. Imagine a father teaching his child to cross a narrow path. The father does not simply point and say, "Go." He walks beside the child, sometimes holding their hand, sometimes allowing space, but always close enough to steady them. That is how I walk with you. When you send the message you have been avoiding, I am with you in the words. When you establish the boundary that protects your peace, I am with you in the courage. When you end the habit that has weakened you, I am with you in the discipline. You are not generating strength alone. You are drawing from mine. There will be moments when you question your decision, moments when doubt tries to resurface. But in those moments, you will sense my nearness if you remain attentive. My presence is not always dramatic. It is steady. It is calm. It is often felt as quiet assurance beneath the noise. You may not hear an audible voice guiding every detail, but you will recognize peace confirming your direction. My beloved, obedience is not a one-time leap. It is a series of steps, and I walk with you in each one. There will be adjustments. There may be unexpected turns, but I am not surprised by them. I incorporate them into your journey. Do not fear making mistakes along the way. If your heart remains aligned with me, I will redirect gently. A shepherd does not abandon his sheep when they wander slightly, he guides them back. Remain sensitive. Remain humble. Remain willing. When you act, you will discover that courage multiplies. The first step feels hardest. The second becomes steadier. The third feels natural. You will also notice something beautiful. Anxiety begins to decrease as obedience increases. The weight of indecision lifts. The tension of hesitation dissolves. Because you are no longer fighting yourself. You are moving in agreement. My beloved child, I delight in walking with you. I am not impatient with your pace. I am attentive to your growth. When you feel uncertain, pause and invite me into that moment. When you feel overwhelmed, breathe and remember I am near. You do not need to perform for me. You need to partner with me. There is a difference. Partnership means listening, responding, adjusting together. It means trusting that I am invested in your success. I am not asking you to carry what belongs to me. I am asking you to carry what belongs to you. Your willingness, your obedience, your decision. The rest I supply. When fatigue tries to settle in, I will renew you. When confusion tries to cloud your mind, I will clarify. When fear tries to return, I will steady you. You are not walking into uncertainty alone. You are walking with me into alignment. Feel that truth settle deeply in your spirit. You are accompanied. You are supported. You are guided. Move forward knowing that every obedient step is taken hand in hand with me. And you will find that the path feels less intimidating, not because it is effortless, but because you are not alone upon it. My beloved child, as you stand on the edge of action, I want you to see not only the responsibility of obedience, but the blessing attached to it. Immediate obedience carries protection. It carries clarity. It carries acceleration. When you respond quickly to my voice, you step into a flow that was prepared for you. It is like entering a current that was already moving in your favor. Resistance decreases. Your action sharpens. Peace settles more deeply in your spirit. There are blessings that cannot be released while you remain undecided. Not because I withhold them cruelly, but because they require alignment. Alignment opens the channel. Imagine a lock and key. The treasure behind the door is ready. It has been prepared. But the door opens only when the key turns fully. Half turns do not release it. Hesitation does not unlock it. Commitment does. Your obedience is that turning key. When you act immediately, you prevent unnecessary detours. You avoid lessons that would have been repeated. You spare yourself complications that come from delay. There is blessing in simplicity. You may not notice it instantly. Sometimes the blessing is subtle at first. It appears as calm instead of chaos, as confidence instead of confusion, as steady progress instead of stagnation. But over time, you will look back and realize that immediate obedience spared you pain you never had to experience. There is also favor that follows alignment. Doors that seem tightly shut will begin to open without struggle. Connections that align with your purpose will form naturally. Provision will appear in ways you could not have predicted. Obedience positions you under covering. When you move quickly in response to my prompting, you demonstrate trust. And trust deepens intimacy. Intimacy strengthens discernment. Discernment protects you from missteps. My beloved, you are not earning my love through obedience. My love is constant. But obedience allows you to experience that love more fully. It clears the static from your spirit. It sharpens your hearing. It anchors your confidence. There is joy attached to swift response. a quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you did not ignore conviction, a sense of integrity that strengthens your identity. You will begin to carry yourself differently, not with arrogance but with assurance. You will also become a testimony. Others will notice the peace in your decisions. They will see consistency where there was once hesitation. They will witness growth that seems steady and grounded. And they will wonder what changed his alignment. My beloved child, immediate obedience protects your future. It guards your calling. It strengthens your resilience. You are not losing anything of true value when you respond quickly to me. You are shedding weight that slowed you down. Imagine running a race with heavy chains around your ankles. The moment those chains are removed, your stride becomes lighter. Your pace increases. The path feels clear. Obedience removes those chains. It may feel costly at first, but the freedom that follows far outweighs the temporary discomfort. I speak blessing over your willingness. I speak peace over your decision. I speak favor over your path. As you move now, expect clarity. Expect provision. Expect growth. Not because life will be without challenge, but because you are aligned. Immediate obedience is not only protection from harm. It is positioning for increase. Step forward confidently. The blessing is already prepared. And as you move, you will begin to see evidence that your yes unlocked more than you imagined. My beloved child, you have walked with me through urgency, through conviction, through clarity. You have heard my heart in warning and in comfort. Now we arrive at the final call. This was never about fear. It was never about punishment. It was about protection. It was about alignment. It was about awakening you before delay could deepen. You felt the stirring because I love you. You sensed the urgency because your life carries weight. You were not interrupted randomly. You were called intentionally. Now the choice rests gently in your hands. You can return to routine, to comfort, to hesitation, or you can step fully into the alignment I have been inviting you into. Remember what I have shown you. Delay dulls clarity. Distraction weakens focus. Comfort can become a cage. But obedience unlocks peace. You see and releases strength. Alignment activates blessing. You are not alone. I go with you. I strengthen you. I guard you. I restore what felt lost. I remove what threatens you. I bless what aligns with you. This is your moment. Do not postpone what you already know. Do not silence the conviction that brought you here. Do not allow fear to negotiate with your future. Move now, my beloved. Let today be the day the cycle breaks. Let today be the day the boundary stands. Let today be the day the habit ends. Let today be the day your heart settles fully in trust. I am not asking for perfection. I am asking for willingness. Take the step. Make the change. Speak the truth. Release the weight. Begin again. And as you move, know this. I am pleased with your courage. I am near in your obedience. I am faithful in every promise. Now, my beloved child, as this message has stirred your heart to action, understand that there are countless others standing at their own turning points, waiting to hear my voice just as you did. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, through becoming a member, or through the PayPal link and QR code placed in the description, you are placing seed into fertile ground for souls across the world. I declare over you what I have spoken. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy, and this promise breathes life over your generosity. When you feel the impulse to give, that is me inviting you to partner in spreading light where darkness lingers. Do not ignore that holy prompting. Your gift becomes oil in another's lamp. Your obedience multiplies beyond your own life. Release your seed today and watch how I return increase into your hands. Step into this act of faith boldly. Give as an act of worship, not hesitation. I seal this moment with peace over your mind, courage in your heart, and strength in your steps. Move forward in confidence. Walk in alignment. Rest in my covering. I am with you. Amen.